You are listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple Podcasts and other podcast platforms. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today we have an ADHD episode, and we are going to talk about how ADHD affects relationships. It is a subject that I have far been delaying and avoiding to discuss, and it is now time to discuss relationships with ADHD. I, as you know, am in a relationship. I have a girlfriend of nearly 3 years now, and this entire time, the two of us have had to, well, mostly me, but we have had to deal with the fact that I have ADHD, and there are many different various issues that ADHD brings to the plate when it comes to relationship struggles and making it work and avoiding stress and anxious moments as much as possible. It is a very difficult thing to accomplish because of ADHD, and I have had a lot of stress, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of confusion on my end, and some on her end as well, but it is mostly my issue that I have to deal with. And there's such a wide range of complications and symptoms that affect the strength and the smoothness of being in a relationship, whether it's the wife or husband or girlfriend, boyfriend. And even with friendships, it affects the ability to have a relationship and to maintain one. Okay, now I have had a few relationships in my life, and this current one is the first one that has had any decent length associated with it. The other two were on and off again multiple times, and then the second one barely lasted for 10 months before we had a personal issue come up. Although there was a good chance that that relationship never would have lasted, even if there hadn't have been the unfortunate incident. I didn't necessarily realize, back then, my first relationship had started at the end of 2003, and then my second relationship was in 2012. And by 2003, I didn't really know that I had ADHD. I didn't even have a thought that there was a possibility, or thinking about why are these things occurring? Why am I experiencing struggles with listening and remembering and paying attention and forgetting things? I never really thought about too much about that at all back then. But by 2012, I was thinking about it more often, and I did have a few friends that I remember discussing my issues, why I was always having problems remembering stuff, focusing, different areas of ADHD, and I was beginning to notice that I was experiencing some problems, and it was really becoming more obvious and more apparent in my life than back in my past. And the thought at that point, and up to when I finally did get a professional, my therapist, to finally indicate that there's likely that I do have ADHD, there was always the thought of it being there. And I could go on and on and on about all the different symptoms and the situations that would occur in my life because of ADHD. Although I'm really not going to go too deep into that, I am going to discuss more about how it affects the ability to maintain a proper and healthy relationship and the struggles that both people involved can go through. And so it's extremely difficult to discuss because there's a lot of personal experiences involved. But a lot of the basic things that occur is because of our ability, like because of people who have ADHD and their ability to focus on the task at hand or focus on someone who is talking to them or trying to listen, like you're listening to someone and they're trying to explain, or you're in an important conversation and there's some like decisions that need to be made that are that are important for that day, or like if you do live together or you're dealing with things like bills, you have to pay your rent or pay bills or discuss important events that are occurring that affect both of you. The inability to, the weak ability to focus and to listen really can cause a lot of anger and frustration in both partners, because the one partner will think one particular thought, like that they just don't care, they're not listening, they'd rather be doing something else, they're always tired, they're always distracted, or that's what they tend to think. And then the person who has the ADHD on the other side is the one that's going like, oh, I don't understand why you're getting upset. They realize that in the thick of the conversation or what's going on, that they're having this tendency to forget what is being discussed, or they're listening, but because of their ADHD symptoms, they have a hard time remembering any of it. And so it really does affect the quality and the healthiness of a relationship, of any sort of relationship, to be honest. Building and maintaining a strong relationship is a challenge for anyone, and having ADHD poses different sets of challenges. And then the neurodevelopmental disorders can make partners think of them as poor listeners and distracted partners or parents and forgetful. And due to such difficulties, sometimes even the most loving partner can falter, or partnership can falter. Understanding the effects of adult ADHD on relationships can definitely help prevent broken relationships. And in fact, there are even ways to ensure that there is a complete, happy relationship. So, understanding ADHD. Many people have heard of it, obviously, which is known as attention deficit disorder, or attention hyperactive attention deficit hyperactive disorder as well. So the different wording. A large percentage of people may recognize it, but they don't necessarily know what it entails or what it means. And it basically means that a partner may display symptoms of attention difficulties as well as hyperbehaviors. And the neurodevelopmental disorder is a chronic issue, which means that people have lived with it throughout their lives. And so most of us have difficulties with concentration, misplaced motivation, organizational difficulties, self-discipline, and time management. Relationships are characterized by angry and inappropriate outbursts by the partner with ADHD, and sometimes ugly scenes erupt that can traumatize partners and children. Although these fits of anger may pass as quickly as they appear, and then cruel words uttered on impulse may increase the tensions in the home environment. So Although every partner brings their own sets of baggage into a relationship, a partner with ADHD often arrives heavily laden with the following issues: a negative self-image, lack of self-confidence, and then shame from past failures. These issues may at first be masked by their ability to shower their beloved with romance and attentiveness, a quality of ADHD hyperfocus. However, that hyperfocus inevitably shifts, and when it does, a person with ADHD may seem to barely notice their partner at all. This may make the ignored partner wonder if they are really loved, and this dynamic can strain a relationship. The partner with ADHD might constantly question their partner's love or commitment, which may be perceived as lack of trust. This can drive the couple even further apart. All right, so yeah, like, because of with ADHD and hyperfocus, a lot of people with ADHD, when they first enter into a relationship, and I think it's very true with anybody, but it's even more more so as strong with a person who has ADHD. They really focus super heavily hard on the beginning of the relationship and making sure that their partner is cared for, giving him all the attention in the world, basically, caring for them, showering them with gifts, saying loving things, and being very like a wonderful partner who is amazing and the most unbelievable partner in the world. And eventually, like, it happens in a normal relationship, and as well with ADHD, a person who is affected by ADHD, they will shift towards another area or a different set of like situations with their disability, and now the real symptoms of ADHD then start to appear, like being like it said, like being inattentive, not focusing, forgetting to do things. Like, your partner tells you to remember to take out the garbage, or to clean up, to do your dishes, remember your laundry, to put your laundry in the dryer. Those are some of the examples, and we often will say to them, yeah, absolutely, okay, I'll do that, I'll make sure to go do that. And if they're not working on anything, and they've been doing nothing at the moment, and their partner tells them to go do one of these tasks, they're going to likely go and do it, no problem, and they will start working on it. And if it's something that they really enjoy doing, they're going to really do a good thorough job, and they're going to make sure that it gets taken care of to its end. If it's just another task or a regular everyday kind of routine sort of thing, they're going to go and do it, but there is a possibility that, one, they're going to lose interest over the period of the time that they're working on this task, or something that is more interesting or comes across in their mind or in front of their eyes will distract them, and it will make them want to go and take care of it. Like, if, let's just say, they're downstairs and they're doing laundry, so they're putting their clothes they're going from putting their clothes in the washer to the dryer, and they notice that, okay, here's a really good idea. They notice that the light bulb in the other room that's attached to the laundry room is out, and they need to replace it. So what they do is, there's a good, they'll likely go and say, oh, I see, it's broke. Okay, I gotta replace it. Better get that done. So they go, and they may have to grab a chair or a ladder, and they go and grab the bulb, and they take it out, and they'll go around into. They may forget where the replacement bulbs are. So there's a possibility that they're going to go search for the bulbs. And when they find them, they're going to obviously try to match it up or find one that's best. And then they're going to, now at that point, there is a possibility that, one, they're going to find that light bulb, the replacement bulb, and they're going to put it back. Or two, there is a possibility that something in that room that they're currently in while looking for that light bulb is going to distract them even further. I'm sure some of you have experienced this many, many times, both as the ADHD person or with ADHD, or as the partner who comes across the unfinished task. So yeah, they could find another something else that they notice that intrigues them, will distract them from that. So they will probably they'll probably inadvertently put the light bulb down on the ground, and then or on the table, and they'll go, okay, so what's going on with this? And so they'll start working on it or start fixing it, and they may go and walk into a different room to sit down and be more comfortable because maybe they're tired or they're achy or something, or right, and so they go sit and they start working on it, and so there is a good chance that they may finish that task, that new third task that they started now, and there's a possibility, and a good possibility, that when they're finished it, they're going to think, oh wow, that was tiring, I'm going to go and grab a drink, or I'm going to go get some food, or they're going to go outside and sit on the chair and relax and kind of maybe have a nap. It definitely is a possibility. And so that's a good possibility. They may possibly remember their light bulb, but there is a good chance that they're not going to. So not only have they forgotten to do the light bulb and replace the light bulb, they have completely forgotten about transferring the wet clothes into the dryer and turning the dryer on. So now they're sitting outside on their patio and they're in the nice warm sun and they've got a drink in their hands and they're just relaxing, kind of maybe daydreaming, focusing or thinking about whatever. And meanwhile, their partner is walking downstairs and goes into the laundry room and goes, what the hell is this? Why is both doors open? You know, there's some laundry in the washer. There's also some laundry, of course, in the dryer. And then they're like, oh my God, he forgot. What's he doing, right? So their partner is frustrated. And then it is a possibility that they might even realize that the light's out next to the room and they're going, what? And they try to turn it on, there's no light. And so then they go, and they may decide, oh, well, I'm going to go get that light bulb. So they go into the room and they notice that there's a light bulb sitting down on the table out when it shouldn't be. And so they get more frustrated. And then, of course, they go, and so at this point, they're upset and they're very frustrated because their partner has basically not taken care of their laundry, has taken out a light bulb and not done anything with it, and then comes across them outside with a drink, relaxing in the chair. There's a good possibility at that point that partner is going to start getting upset with him and saying, how come you didn't finish your laundry? And why is there a light bulb sitting on the table? Why is that light out in the room? And then the partner's going to go, oh. And if there's any, like, there's either the partner's going to go, oh crap, damn it, I forgot, and they're going to get up right away and they're going to go do it, or if there's any sort of strain on the relationship already, or any sort of like defensive action, then that partner's going to start arguing, like saying stuff like, I was doing it, I'm just taking a break, or like, you know, like they're not thinking straight, and they're not, you know, being honest with their partner and telling them what really happened. Maybe because of shame, you know, like there is that good possibility that he's going to feel shame because he once again, for the 20th time or whatever, has forgotten to complete his initial task. You know, he never did take his laundry and put it into the dryer and turn the dryer on, and then he forgot that he had to replace the light bulb. You know, and on top of it all, he's outside now relaxing instead of taking care of his chores. And so there's that possibility that it's going to strain and really anger each other in their relationship, and that one partner is going to feel like he doesn't care, that he's just being lazy, that he's not trying, and he's going to get all frustrated because he's constantly thinking, why is she getting upset at me all the time? Doesn't she know what's going on? And it can really unravel and get super intense, and if this sort of behavior continues without any sort of corrective action, whether it's adaptive behavior on his part or some sort of support or therapy, maybe there's a good chance that eventually that relationship is going to fail, and is definitely not healthy for either person involved. Okay, well, ADHD in marriage. ADHD can create even more strain in a marriage, and as time passes, the spouse unaffected by ADHD tends to find that they have to carry most of the parenting, the financial responsibility, home management, resolving family problems, and household chores. This division of responsibilities can make the partner with ADHD seem like a child rather than a mate. And if the marriage transforms into a parent-child relationship, then the sexual dynamic suffers. The non-ADHD spouse may interpret their partner's behavior as a sign of lost love. This type of situation can lead to divorce. If your spouse has ADHD, it is important to practice empathy. When times get tough, take a deep breath and remember the reasons why you fell in love. Such small reminders can carry you through some of the most chaotic days. If you feel like you can't take the situation any longer, it may be time to consider marriage counseling. All right, everybody, I am going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I will continue discussing relationships with ADHD. All right, everyone. All right, thanks for coming back. Let's continue our discussion on ADHD and relationships. Okay, so my ADHD is something that I've always obviously had to deal with, even though I've only really known about it for maybe a year now. It has affected my life from the beginning, and I developed, obviously through life, I have developed these issues that affect my ability to remember things, forgetting obviously to do tasks, knowing that I have to do something in the future, and then sometimes immediately forgetting that I have to do it. I get into something that I'm working on so hard and noticing that, and it could be anywhere from 5-10 minutes to over hours later, that I've forgotten to do something. And this by yourself, when you're on your own, can be temporarily frustrating for you, and then you take a moment to try and regroup and ground and breathe so that you can relax and just say, okay, all right, I'll try next time to be better at remembering. But when you're involved with another human being, it affects both of you, especially if that task that you're working on, and then you get distracted into something else. It can affect both people, because not only is it affecting your ability to live your life, it's affecting their life as well. They have to cope with knowing that there's a good chance that you're going to forget something, or you're not going to do what you said you would do. And it really can get in the way of maintaining calmness and strength with your relationship, and it can make it very strained, and it causes the ability to trust that person harder. It really does make it a lot more difficult. And without the proper adaptations, and most of the adaptations is from the person who has ADHD, but the partner as well, they can together learn and work on methods and practices that will help work towards reducing the number of times that these sort of issues occur, like forgetting to do laundry, or taking out food and getting distracted and leaving it on the counter and not noticing that it's there, or not being able to regulate emotion, getting over or extremely overwhelmed, or getting excited for for something that is simple, that doesn't need it doesn't require to be overexcited, it really does get in the way. And the fact that we have such a hard time paying attention on what is happening, whether it is a conversation or whether we're doing a task, it can, as we all know, it will cause a lot of strain and a lot of suffering and a lot of frustration and anger with both people. And it, to be honest, mostly affects the person in the relationship who doesn't have ADHD, because they are a neurotypical person and they don't necessarily get what is going on in that person's mind. They don't understand the complexities of the ADHD, why these things occur, why someone forgets, why someone is, having a hard time paying attention to what is being told to them, why they seem like they don't remember anything, why it appears to that person that they're not caring. It's really hard to understand, and it's very difficult to grasp the idea and to understand it, and to be able to not allow it to make you feel hurt and feel like mistrust, like all the different feelings that you could get by living with someone or being around someone who constantly appears like they don't care, like they're not listening to you, like they're off in their own world and they're highly distracted, or they're constantly talking about stuff that makes no sense, and they suddenly go on to some other topic without really wrapping up the initial conversation. It really will strain that person's ability to want to be with that partner in the future. It really sucks, and most people don't really understand what to do, and it ends up leading to the relationship failing ultimately. Okay, why breakups happen. Sometimes the breakup comes as a complete shock to the partner with ADHD, who was too distracted to notice that the relationship was failing. In an effort to escape feeling overwhelmed by housework or demanding children, the partner with ADHD may have mentally and emotionally withdrawn, leaving the other partner feeling abandoned and resentful. This dynamic is worse if the partner with ADHD is undiagnosed and not in treatment. Still, treatment may not even be enough to curb anger and resentment. The longer that problems are left to continue in a relationship, the higher the likelihood of a breakup. Considering couples therapy. If a couple coping with ADHD wants to revive their marriage, they must recognize that ADHD is the problem, not the person with the condition. Blaming one another for the side effects of ADHD will only widen the gap between them. These side effects can include diminished sex life, a messy house, and financial struggles. At a minimum, the ADHD partner must get treatment through medication and counseling. Couples therapy with a professional who specializes in ADHD can provide additional support for both partners and help the couple navigate their way back to productive, honest communication. Managing the disorder as a couple can help partners rebuild their bonds and adopt healthy roles in their relationship. ADHD can negatively affect relationships, but this does not have to be the case. Mutual acceptance of imperfections can go a long way in terms of creating empathy for each other and learning to slow down. Compassion and teamwork top the list of qualities that make a relationship with an ADHD partner work. At the same time, you should encourage your partner to get help if you think treatment could help minimize some extreme symptoms. Counseling can also create more of a team atmosphere that you both need. A relationship involving someone with ADHD is never easy, but by no means is it doomed to failure. The following treatment can help keep your relationship both strong and healthy: medication, therapy, efforts to strengthen communication, mutual consideration for each other, and the commitment to a fair division of responsibilities. Yeah, alright. It's crazy, honestly. Like, now, you all know, the ones that have been listening to my podcast for some time now, You all know that I don't just suffer from ADHD. If it were that simple, life wouldn't be that complicated for me, and I could, eventually, with the help that I'm getting, start to manage this properly. But I also suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD. And CPTSD compounds the problems that I'm experiencing, because often I've discussed many times in my past episodes with CPTSD, and even in my ADHD episodes, that I often get triggered and experience traumatic events and flashbacks because of my ADHD, and I experience a lot of anxiety, and it really makes this even worse than it needs to be. Now, I know that it is a super complicated thing to deal with. I'm not going to sit here and pretend with you that it's fixable just like that, because it's not. ADHD by itself is really frustrating and can be very stressful. And it probably, for a vast majority of us who have ADHD, leads to developing some sort of a traumatic experience and then experiencing flashbacks because of the ADHD. Now, whether it's involved in relationships, with addiction, with a traumatic, like something that because of your ADHD caused a traumatic event. A lot of people who have ADHD, when they're in school or at a work environment, especially if it's not a healthy environment, can often be bullied, made fun of, ridiculed, made to feel less of a person than someone who's neurotypical. And then you develop that traumatic trigger, and you experience those flashbacks on a regular basis whenever something triggers it for you to feel that again. And that is, to be honest, a lot of my issues. I deal with the ADHD numerous times each day. Some of it's pretty serious and causes a lot of strain and stress in my relationship and personally for me, and then some of the problems are minor, where I just have to realize in my mind, oh crap, I had another ADHD moment, and try to move on. It's not easy. The only way you can truly get any help is seeing a therapist, like getting diagnosed with ADHD and seeing a therapist and getting medication and going through therapy to try and the different methods that you can use, the theories to work on it, right? Like doing CBT therapy sessions to try and reinforce the different ways of dealing with your experiences that you have with ADHD. You gotta find a way to work with it, because let's be honest, if you suffer from ADHD and you're in a relationship, I can bet you, unless you're one of these, really, really rare individuals, you're most likely going to have strain and stress in your relationship, and it's going to affect both of you, and probably going to affect her a lot more. And most of it is because you're oblivious to a lot of what's going on. You don't realize and you don't see the problems up front like they would. You don't always understand what's going on. You sometimes are so highly distracted that it occurs and you're not aware. And unfortunately, you don't always see it, and you don't always know what to do. And that's where it can really make things hard, or even harder than just if you understood. If you're one of those people who hasn't been diagnosed, or you're not aware of it, it makes it even worse, right? Because you don't know, you don't have a clue, you don't get that this is occurring, and you want to try and fix it, but because of your ADHD, you really don't know how. you honestly don't have a clue. And the only thing you can do is either find a therapist, go and see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, get an official diagnosis, see if you have any other disabilities that are as like comorbidities as well as CBT, like ADHD. Like maybe you have a learning disability, maybe you have a general anxiety disorder, maybe you have a learning disorder, maybe you have CPTSD and you've got a lot of trauma that affects your life. There are all these things that can mesh together that can make your life a living hell and make it very messy. But the only way to get anywhere is to go out and look for the help. Know that you need to do this. You may need some help from your partner to get this done, because there's a good chance you may forget. But yeah, you need to go out and find the correct help. You need to find a doctor who knows what they're talking about and will send you to a therapist or the psychiatrist to get a diagnosis and maybe other diagnoses. And then you can finally get your medication and you can start adapting and changing. And speaking of adapting, with ADHD, you can't sit back and just use your diagnosis as an excuse. You have to learn adaptive measures and you have to take steps into minimizing these ADHD moments, because you can only do so much. Like your medication's not going to fix you. It's not a cure. You're not going to suddenly wake up one day and not have it anymore. You're still going to have to make changes in your life, in all aspects of your life, in order to minimize the strain on yourself and on your partner. And if you don't do this, you're never going to get better. So you do need to get out there and find the proper assistance in order to reduce the ADHD in your life. Like, it'll never go away, but you can adapt. You can make changes. You can change the way your house is set up. You can change the way you do your routines. You can change the way you go out when you're getting ready to go and do stuff. You can change the way you communicate with your partner. You can come up with an agreement of some sort to do some sort of an adjustment to make life easier for both of you. You need to go and work towards that and find methods, find new ways, find adaptations to make life easier. You can't just sit on your butt and do nothing. You can't just accept that this is what it is, and if you're going to be single, then so be it. You have to do the work. You have to make the right choices, and you have to accept that there's a good chance that you're going to struggle and that you're going to have to regroup and try again. It's not going to be an easy fix by any means. And that's a fact of life. It sounds bad, it sounds miserable, but rather that than lose something that is important to you, that you've worked hard to achieve, and even harder to keep. Like, it's not easy. I struggle all the time. I really don't always know what's going on. Some of it is ADHD and some of it is because of my CPTSD, but often they mix together at the same time. And I really wish I knew why this is, I get an idea as to what's going on, but I don't fully understand the ins and outs of ADHD as much as a doctor or an expert who deals with it all the time. I may do a lot of research and I may say a lot on here and give you my experiences, but I really don't know that much when it comes to finding ways to fix issues and to make it less harmful to you and to other people in your life. Yeah, that's the sad fact here. All right, everyone, that is today's episode, and I would like to thank you guys for listening. It is really nice of you all to be taking the time to listen to my episodes every day. Whenever they come out, when they are out every week. And I really appreciate you taking the time to hear what I have to say. I would love to hear from you guys. I am on Twitter. My handle on Twitter is at ADHD and CPTSD. I really would love it if you guys would come say hi and get to, start a conversation. I'd love to chat with you, talk about ADHD, talk about CPTSD, talk about anything that could help. There's no harm in reaching out. I'm more than happy to sit and talk about these things, and maybe we can help each other. Maybe what I'm saying here is helpful for you. My website is www.livingwithadhdandcptsd.ca, and I have my Facebook page, of course. If you have a lot of questions about ADHD and you really want to learn as much as you can, check out Russell Barkley on YouTube. He's got a lot of videos, and it's very informative and extremely helpful. I do get a lot of my knowledge and assistance from those videos, and they're extremely beneficial, and I know they'll benefit you as well. So I hope you'll check them out. Okay, everybody, I will talk to you next week, and have a good week. Okay, bye-bye.